It's one of the most anticipated monologues in late night TV history. Do you think he's going to continue to do what he's doing? I don't think he's going to apologize. And from everybody that I've heard, he is non-apologetic and he doesn't think he did anything wrong. I don't either. It doesn't seem like he's the guy that's going to apologize. In fact, do you think he actually takes it a step further tonight? Let's talk a little bit about Jimmy Kimmel. I know Jimmy Kimmel, met him multiple times, think he's a really nice guy. Didn't think he necessarily did anything wrong. He was mocking Donald Trump, talking about the ballroom when supposedly he's supposed to be grieving the loss of one of his really good friends in Charlie Kirk. Then he gets suspended. I'm wondering, I feel like Ron, MAGA did Jimmy Kimmel a favor because I believe his ratings tonight will be higher than ever. It's probably the most anticipated monologue of any late night talk show host for decades. And in the end, I actually think this is going to help Jimmy Kimmel. What are your thoughts on this scenario here?
Possibly. I mean, certainly you're right for like short-term wise. Mm-hmm. It depends on a few things, a couple things. I think it depends on how Kimmel handles it. Kimmel cannot back down in any way. And the problem is that you have Sinclair and Nexstar who control 20% of the TV stations in the United States who are still refusing to carry his show. And they're in a dispute now with ABC over that. And so what they want, ABC says, we talked to Jimmy and they gave a bullshit statement. We talked to Jimmy and he's seen the light and he's learned the error of his ways. And we've had a bunch of heart to hearts with him. That's all bullshit. The reality is so many people were canceling their Disney Plus subscriptions, like millions of people. They had guests, hosts, celebrity guests, canceling on them left and right. The publicity they were getting from and the hits they were getting from Congress and the media was just horrible, and they were just getting annihilated. And so I think they were forced to bring him back. But Sinclair and Nexstar, who are both owned by right-winger pro-Trump people, who both want to merge and take over other companies right now and need FCC approval to do that, are still not agreeing to put Kimmel on. And so the question becomes long-term. Is that going to get resolved? Because that definitely would hurt his show if so many of those local stations are not going to carry it. But really the person who has to fight that battle is ABC with their affiliates. ABC needs to body them and muscle them. We'll just see if they have the will to do that.
Ron, we've heard, well, no, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This is just the FCC. Can we just be honest here? This starts with Donald Trump. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah. But it's also Brendan Carr. Brendan Carr had this agenda for years. He talked about doing this. He wrote the Project 2025 section on the FCC. He served on the FCC at a lower level in the past. So, he's doing this he's going after Trump's enemies, but also this is a broader agenda that this is not just about Kimmel. This is a broader agenda that he has to radically transform media. If he had what he wants is to see people like Alex Jones, Jack Posobiec, Sean Hannity, Scott Jennings, all over network shows, these right-wing people that you see on social media that Trump is putting in his administration. He wants these people hosting Meet the Press. Right. And that is his goal. And to accomplish that, he is using the levers of government power. And every time one of these media companies caves to them, as they did at the beginning of the administration, it emboldens them. It makes them take bigger, bolder steps, more threats, more menacing. And so these guys are not going to back down until you punch back. And I think this was the first time anybody punched back. But I tend to agree with they're still hanging their hat on, these local affiliate conglomerates, which, by the way, should not be allowed. It's ridiculous how these media empires are being consolidated under people like Larry Ellison and others, that are, across multiple platforms, multiple networks. We never, ever allowed that in this country. But only in very recent years are we allowing this tiny handful. I think I saw the number now 7 corporations own 90% of the media in the United States. That's just ridiculous.
completely ridiculous. I agree with you. What would you expect from Jimmy Kimmel tonight? Kind of a preview of his monologue. And I think he would agree with me. It's one of the most anticipated monologues in late night TV history. Do you think he's going to continue to do what he's doing? I don't think he's going to apologize. And from everybody that I've heard, he is non-apologetic and he doesn't think he did anything wrong. I don't either. It doesn't seem like he's the guy that's going to apologize. In fact, do you think he actually takes it a step further tonight?
Yeah. He can't apologize, because if he did what Sinclair was demanding, which is like apologize to Kirk's family and make a donation to Turning Point USA, I mean, that Kimmel would be finished. I mean, his entire audience would abandon him. So that was a non-option. So he can't do that. And he knows that. And I don't think he would be inclined to do that anyway. I mean, he's one of the few people who are like, have principles and stand up for what they believe in.
Yep. I'm with you.
I mean, I think Howard Stern is like that too, and that's why they're good friends. So, and Howard, by the way, has had many battles with the FCC himself during the Reagan years, and Bush years. But I think what he's going to do is this. I think he's going to clarify, to make this very clear, that he at no point ever attacked Charlie Kirk. He never did. He never said anything disparaging about Kirk, and that. What he was talking about was Donald Trump and the MAGA supporters who are weaponizing the Kirk assassination to try and blame Democrats for it. So I think what he will do is probably start out by making that clear, that he's very sorry about what happened to Kirk, that he doesn't want to see that happen to anybody, and he'll make it clear that nothing he ever said was about Charlie Kirk or his death. Right. And then I think he will launch an absolute missile at Trump, at Brendan Carr, at ABC even. I think he's going to start out with the little Kirk thing, and then he's just going to go postal. And I think people will love it.
I hope so. And I tend to think you're right on that. I think that's what he's going to do. So listen, I know the Charlie Kirk funeral was over the weekend, but I got to tell you, Ron, I appreciated Charlie Kirk's wife and the things she said. I thought she, what was maybe one of the better moments, for lack of a better term. She talks about how we can't hate people, and yet Donald Trump gets up there and talks about how he literally hates all of his opponents, assuming he's talking about Democrats. He hates Democrats in half the country. And don't even get me started with Stephen Miller's speech. You guys at MeidasTouch did a great job at covering this. Does it get any worse than that, Ron? I guess that's my question. When Donald Trump is speaking literally at a funeral, and he just can't help himself but divide the country further.
Yeah, because he has no empathy whatsoever. He doesn't care about people. People are fungible to him. In other words, the second, and we've seen this throughout for his whole entire life, the second that they are no longer useful to him, he discards them. It's like they don't exist anymore in his universe. So I believe, the only thing that he cares about in the context of Charlie Kirk is what this death can do for him, and what Turning Point, whatever's left of it, can do for him. And so what was bizarre to me was this is supposed to be a memorial service that featured none of Kirk's family except for his wife, who, by the way, is now CEO of Turning Point. But like, his parents were not heard from, his siblings were not heard from, his friends were not heard from. I mean, it was Erica Kirk, and then it was a collection of Trump administration officials and right-wing influencer grifters like Jack Posobiec. Yeah. So it was bizarre to me in that context. Like, it was like a Trump rally, not really a memorial service after Erica was done. Yeah. And I thought that was very bizarre. Yeah. Trump getting up there talking about, hating Democrats and going after Democrats and all that stuff. It's like,
classless.
Obviously they had a huge turnout. They had a lot of people that were definitely moved by what happened to him and showed up. And in the middle of a football Sunday when the Cardinals were playing at the time, that was pretty significant.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you there. By the way, we've just learned that Jimmy Kimmel is going to have your guy Gavin Newsom on the show tomorrow night. So that should be quite interesting. Oh, tonight, actually. So tonight, Gavin Newsom's going to be on the show.
I heard that rumor, but I didn't know it was confirmed.
It's official now. Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
I think that's a really good move.
I agree.
Because that will infuriate Trump and Carr more than anything else more than anybody else he could bring on, except maybe Stormy Daniels.
Right.
He's already done that a few times.
He's already done that. Yeah. That all those interviews are always interesting.